this past couple of weeks, I've been spending some time rereading some books that I've read in the past. And it's been kind of interesting, and I think we've all had the experience of you read a book and you get a lot out of it, and you go back a year or two later and you get something completely different out of it. Well, this week I've been spending a little bit of time with two different books. One of them was the Book of Secrets by Deepak Chopra, and I referenced that last week. That book is about really opening up to that place deep within ourselves and allowing our authentic selves to come through as we move toward that transformation in our spiritual life. Living Deeply is another book, and that is reflective of a decade-long research into personal transformation, transforming the idea of I to the idea of we. Because the idea is obviously to recognize the oneness in everything and all things. Chopra tells us that all spiritual secrets necessary for our personal transformation depend solely upon accepting the existence of one reality, one single reality. And that was very beautifully stated in that reading that Nathan shared with us. Now, here's the thing. If we believe that that one reality is only an idea held by someone else, it will not ever have an influence or a change on our life. Because if we look at it as if it's the truth, we see the world in a completely different way. One reality isn't just an idea. It's a completely different and possibly new way for us to see and look at life. Understanding and experiencing that one reality is about changing our perception. That's all it's about, changing our perception of the way we see the world, of the way we see humanity. Our awareness is what changes during that journey from the sense of separation to the one reality. And that journey is absolutely necessary if we do indeed want to truly transform into living more deeply, living more authentically, or living more transparently. In other words, living from the essence of who we truly are. Chopra tells us that the simplest definition of consciousness is awareness. So consciousness is the potential for all creation. And the more awareness or consciousness we have, the more potential we have to create. Not just things, to create the way we see and experience the world and the way we live our life. Because pure consciousness, which underlies everything, is pure potential. We human beings tend to live according to our five senses. And let me tell you why that can be deceptive. Because our five senses tell us that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And we know scientifically that isn't the truth. Our senses also tell us that the earth is flat, because when we look out, that's how it appears. And our senses also tell us that there is no way, certainly no way, a steel object like an airplane can fly. Isn't that the truth? So if we rely solely on our senses, what we experience is that separation, is that duality, is that ego-based knowledge. And then we're subject to a fear-based life, feeling detached from our source, and then feeling limited in time and in space. When we trust the laws of the universe and depend on our inner knowing, our consciousness, our awareness, we're far less subject to fear. We're able to tap into those natural resources that we all have inherently. We become more inventive. We become more creative. Those boundaries that we think exist begin to dissolve, and intentions turn into results. And we experience that intimate relationship with the divine, which of course, I believe, is what we're all working toward. So our awareness really is all that changes in the journey from our separation, what we think is separation, to that one reality. Moving from the I, it's about me, to the we, it's about us. All of us. So really, one reality means that you see yourself as a separate individual personality and a part of the greater whole. So one reality, you have both. It's an experience of that ever-present sense of unity in our connection with spirit and the rest of humanity. With everybody, not just some people. This is interesting. In the book Living Deeply, there were several studies conducted over a decade, and it was about how people viewed themselves in conjunction with other people. What was interesting is how they felt a deep sense of connection. I'm going to share some phrases that these people used, the people that were interviewed. A realization of the interconnectedness of all beings. A dissolving of the boundary between self and others. An abiding personal relationship to God, the same God in all the world. A sense of community at a global level, and a gradual realization that there isn't any separation. Now, those studies included interviews and surveys with a variety of people across many traditions. So it wasn't just a set of one group of people who were open and inclusive like we are, right? It was along many of the traditions. And here's the thing, they all agreed on the same thing, that there is a growing sense of unity, shared identity, and belonging, and awareness of that divinity universal to all people and to all life. So, it was made that real clear to me. It was a beautiful reminder that what we're doing here at Common Ground, we are just so on task, aren't we? Because that is the truth. Most people, the world as a whole, does see what we do as valuable and essential. I know I do, and I know you do too. As our sense of connection grows, it becomes a permanent part of our sense of self. And it doesn't have to be that isolated event or a peak experience. It's who we are. And that's what it means to live deeply, to live from that space that is way deep within. As we move through and make a transition into that oneness, into that we versus I, we're simply recognizing what's inherent. And that's everyone's state of natural being. Everyone's. We all have that same stuff. Now, the changes that result from this experience of deep connection impacts who we are. It impacts how we see the world, how we see all living things. And what happens as we let go of that self-interest is we begin to feel a greater sense of belonging, a greater sense of that connectedness, of that interdependence. And then miraculously, we begin experiencing that stronger, deeper sense of our own authentic self. And we begin to appreciate our unique role in the world, in the larger picture. We become strengthened and deepened when our personal story begins to merge with the larger story. We see ourselves, we see how we fit in and why we're necessary. And with that, then we begin to see beyond the normal perceptions into that divine spark that exists in each and every being on this planet. We truly recognize then that oneness as it is. Those boundaries that we think are there just simply seem to fade away. Because in truth, in reality, in that one reality, they are not there. Now, one reality, I love this. The world is right now experiencing a state of absolute oneness. Absolutely. I want to tell you how. Think about how invested the world was and continues to be into the rescue of those Thai boys. And we still continue to follow their progress. And I don't mean we in this room, I mean we in the world. Or how unhappy most of the world was when the children were being separated from their parents. How that hurt, how that stung, still stings, right? Or what about these devastating fires? And our hearts go out, our prayers go out, knowing it could be us, recognizing that kind of is us. Because we feel their pain, don't we? At some level. Those experiences are about we. Because it doesn't affect only one person. Those experiences affect us all. We don't have any personal agenda in any one of those things. However, we feel it, we experience it. In many cases, many times, we feel that pain that others must be experiencing. Because we're one humanity. Because we are one with all that is. And we feel that. That's the oneness I'm talking about. That compassion for all of humanity. Not just people we know, not just people we care about, all of humanity. It doesn't matter if we know them or not. We are connected. And the truth is this, we have that same connection with every single human being on this planet. Every single human being. Whether we like it or not. We come to common ground and we take time consciously to recognize and honor that idea. Think about the different experiences or coincidences you've experienced since you've been here, and the people you know, and how your lives have become so intertwined. We recognize that we all have something in common because we've taken the time and the effort to find it. Because we feel safe. Think about the support and the love and the encouragement that you always find here, that is ever present. That's what life's about, right? Love, kindness, compassion. And that's what we're called to do out there in the world. To everybody. Respecting the differences and honoring and remembering our oneness. That isn't something that we want to end in this room. That is something we want to share. The idea is to share that with all of humanity. Expand that to everyone you know, whether you like them or not, especially if you don't like them. You know why? Because it's more challenging when you don't like someone to share that. And it's more life-affirming if what you're seeking is that personal transformation from I to we. It's our work to embrace humanity, to express divinity while being in awe of the divinity of all others. Being a reflection, a magnificent example of that love expressing as a beneficial presence in the world. It really isn't about I, it's about we. How can I be of service to my fellow humanity? What is the next right and loving thing I can do to make someone else's life a little kinder, a little easier, a little better? It isn't what's in it for me. How can it benefit us? This transformative journey is about empowering strength in ourselves and mostly in others. It's not just about empowering people. It's like that proverb of give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, and feed him for a lifetime. That oneness consciousness is a love that actually gives people a way to live, a way to eat, a place to live, something to wear, self-esteem, self-empowerment. As we send that love, people know that they're cared about, that they're loved, that you aren't better than, and they aren't less than. We need to learn to be compassionate beyond sadness and beyond sympathy. In lieu of having an occasional experience of connection, let's begin to hold that permanent worldview that assumes interconnectedness between ourselves and between everything and everybody else in this world. Let's just play that game. Fyodor said this: love the animals, love the planet, love everything. If you love everything, you will perceive the divine mystery in things. Once you perceive it, you will begin to comprehend it better every day. And you will come at last to love the whole world with an all-embracing love. Isn't that what we want to do? Is just love? So here's my invitation this morning. Extend the practice of love to the entire world. Breathe in the sorrow, the sadness that exists in our world, and then breathe out a single breath, one simple, loving breath, sending it out to the world. And if that one simple, loving breath seems too little in the face of what's going on in the world, remember this: you contain within yourself the same essence that powers the sun and that spins the planet. And guess what? That is enough. Thank you so much for being here while I shared the truth as I understand it.